Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Srimad Bhagavatam. Commentaries by my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So, in today's satsang, we are continuing the episode of the mystical meaning of the Samyantak money and Krishna's finding it. Prasenjit the lion and Jambavan. Prasenjit, who borrowed the jewel from his brother and rode into the forest, represents the Rajasic or distracted ego, which is interested in the pleasure of the senses, the world of vanity. Such an ego loves to ride the horse of the undisciplined senses and sojourn into the forest of the world process. However, the great treasure given by God cannot be left in the hands of that Rajasic ego. Therefore, a lion emerges to destroy distraction, Prasenjit, and steal the jewel. That lion represents sadhana shakti, or the power generated by sadhana or spiritual discipline. The preparatory stages of sadhana consist of the first 5 of the 8 steps in Raja Yoga. They are called yamas, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar. The yama and niyamas are ethical values in the form of do's and don'ts, which means they tell us how we should be behaving and our ethical conduct in order to follow this path. The do's, what we should do and what we should not do. Next come the asanas, which prepare our body to remain strong and stable in one position for the practice of meditation. Then comes pranayama, where we learn the art of controlling the subtle vital energy, and then pratyahara, withdrawing the senses. In these 5 preparatory stages of sadhana, the sadhana shakti we generate is like a lion. In the hands of this lion, Samyantak money or Pragya Loka becomes the source of many psychic powers. By intensifying our sadhana and perfecting concentration, meditation, and samadhi, the last 3 steps of Raja Yoga, an aspirant eventually develops vairagya or dispassion. Then there arises within him a power higher than sadhana shakti, a power called samadhi shakti, that kills the lion. Killing the lion simply represents a transition from preparatory sadhana to samadhi, from grosser spiritual energy to the more subtle energy arising from meditation and samadhi. Jambavan, the mighty bear who kills the lion and carries off the jewel, symbolizes Samadhi Shakti, that spirit of higher Samadhi. Jambavan carries the jewel into the cavern of the Chitta or the unconscious. In that cave of the heart, the realm of Samadhi, the jewel that seemed so extraordinary becomes just an ordinary stone fit for child's play. Similarly, for an aspirant who does not enjoy higher samadhi, attaining the key to psychic powers is something so dazzling. While in the realm of samadhi, it is simple and relatively insignificant. The fight between Krishna and Jambavan. In this story, Jambavan and Krishna engage in battle for many days. Similarly, in the transition from sadhana to samadhi, the soul within us is as if fighting or competing with God. This form of symbolism was also introduced in the Mahabharata when a strange battle arose between Arjuna and Shiva. One day, when Arjuna was practicing intense meditation on Lord Shiva, a demon assumed the form of a great hog charged at Arjuna, trying to kill him. Seeing the hog in time, Arjuna discharged his arrow and pierced the hog. At that very same instant, a hunter from the wild tribe, who was really Lord Shiva, disguising himself in the form of a hunter, discharged an arrow, and both arrows pierced the animal at the same time. This led to conflict over which of the two could assert that he had killed the animal. In the fight, Arjuna's arrows repeatedly entered into the hunter's body and vanished, and this inexhaustible quiver soon became exhausted. Then he started fighting with his bow, his sword, and then even with his fists. Finally, that hunter brought Arjuna between his arms and began to choke him so hard that he temporarily lost his consciousness. Regaining consciousness, Arjuna found a clod of earth and mentally invoked the presence of Shiva and offered some nearby flowers to Shiva. Much to Arjuna's surprise, he saw those flowers fall upon the head of the hunter, who was standing at a distance smiling. Then Arjuna realized that he had been fighting with Shiva himself, and he fell at his feet. Pleased by the austerity and heroism of Arjuna, Shiva blessed him, and instantly all the injuries that Arjuna had received in that fight were removed, leaving him stronger than ever. Both this story from the Mahabharata and the story of Jambavan's fight with Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam have an interesting mystical implication for an aspirant. In the course of spiritual movement, during the practice of profound meditation and samadhi, an aspirant comes into combat with God, so to speak. In order to become divine, we must acquire all the qualities that the divinity possesses. The divinity is pure, so we must be pure. The divinity is peaceful, so we must be as peaceful also. This results in a kind of mystic combat or competition, trying to emulate ourselves and vibrate at the frequency of God. In this process, we begin to recognize that everything our ego considered its own is ineffective. Further, we gain deep insight into the fact that nothing is ours. Our body, mind, intellect, senses, our pranas or vital forces, as well as all our abilities and talents. None of these are ours. Everything is essentially God's only, and therefore we surrender absolutely in divine hands. When the battle ends and Krishna blesses Jambavan, he is mysteriously healed of all his injuries, as Arjuna was also healed by Shiva. Similarly, in spiritual transformation, all the injury you receive, all the sacrifices we have made, whatever we have done is rewarded the moment we experience the divine touch. We never look back and lament about the effort we put in for so many years. All the injuries we received are healed. All the sorrows and sufferings are forgotten, and we emerge stronger and more radiant than ever. Jambavanti, the daughter of Jambavan and the new bride of Krishna, represents intuitional intellect. As one's experience of samadhi deepens, intellectual brilliance increases accordingly. Jambavanti represents a level of intellectual luminosity in the lower state of samadhi. It is that intellect that allows us to handle the jewel of psychic power in a spiritual manner. Krishna's returning the jewel to Satyajit implies that one who attains enlightenment holds the jewel but never considers it his own. A Jivan Mukta, a liberated sage, holds the key to power, but it never generates egoistic impressions within him. Satyabhama, the daughter of Satyajit and the next bride of Krishna, represents the state of samadhi where truth is envisioned very clearly. Raj Yoga speaks of Ritambhara Tasya Prajna, a stage in which the intellect becomes filled with truth. For one who has not advanced in the experience of samadhi, the truth of Brahman is veiled by so many concepts. But through samadhi, all limited concepts are eventually cleared away and the truth shines forth. That stage of intuitional luminosity is represented by Satyabhama. With this, we conclude our satsang for today, and I will see you tomorrow. This is Swami Nikhilanand. Om Tat Sat.